Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Now in today's video I'm going to be showing you exactly how I managed to make over 10% on only 4 trades last week using pure price action. Now the 4 trades we're about to go through were all sent as signals to the Discord server, either as free signals which everyone has access to, or as VIP signals which are exclusive to the mentorship members. If you would like more information on the signals that I do provide in the server, be sure to check out the links in the description below, where you'll be able to look at all of the data we have. I think there's about 12 months of data now where I've been providing signals within the Discord server, and I'm very transparent about the results. I'm not trying to hide any of the losses. You'll be able to see now if you go into that spreadsheet, which is going to be in the description below. The last month we had a very slow month. We took 8 trades, 8 losses, -8% for that month. But as you're going to be able to see in this video, we've started October with 4 wins on the bat, 100% win rate for this month so far, and we've made back all of those losses and more. And so yeah, starting this quarter really well. But otherwise, let's jump straight into the video, get into the analysis, and yeah, enjoy guys. So guys, starting with Euro US dollar. Now this trade was actually sent as a free signal, which means that everyone within the Discord server was able to get involved in this trade if they wished to. And yeah, as I've mentioned at the start of this video, this strategy is based on pure price action. It's based on the 1 hour time frame exclusively, and it therefore differs quite a lot to my SMC strategy, which obviously utilizes a range of concepts such as multi-time frame analysis, supply and demand, liquidity concepts. This price action strategy, in my opinion, is much more simple. It's much easier to understand. And in that sense, it's much easier to implement in the market, especially as a new trader who might not have as much experience or confidence with those other concepts we've just mentioned. Now, I'm just going to take you through the trade and I'll show you exactly what we were looking for, where we entered, and sort of how we managed the trade to maximize our profits. Now, I'm just going to rewind price to just before we got involved in the trade to around this date. And I'm just going to get rid of some of these drawings to make it a bit clearer for us. We go into here, let me do that. There we go. So coming into this trade, straight off the bat, we can see we've got some really strong bearish momentum. Now, every candle here, as you can see, breaks the low of the previous candle. And for this strategy, this means that we have a very strong bearish trend. Retracement candle, doesn't matter if it's bearish or bullish, we'd be waiting for a candle that fails to break the previous candle's low. And actually, just for the moment, I'm going to put in my horizontal raise, as this is what I usually have in the live market to help me identify our most recent low and our most recent high. And just a very quick note on our most recent low and most recent high, if you're not aware of how to find them. When we have our most recent low like this, where price has made a strong push to the downside, to find our most recent high, we simply need to follow the lows of previous candles until we get to that first candle that failed to break the previous candle's low. And as you can see, this candle quite clearly failed to break the low of the previous candle. It has a higher low, so therefore this would be our retracement candle, and the high of that candle is going to be our most recent high. Again, not going to go into too much detail about that, because I just want to focus on the actual trades that we've taken. But the main thing to take away from here, coming into the setup, is that we have some really clear, strong bearish momentum. And at this point, I was very happy to look for some form of continuation setup. Now, if we play price forward a single candle, you're going to be able to see that we have that retracement candle. We have failed to break the previous candle's low. As I was just mentioning, we need to see price fail to break that low before we have any sign of a retracement candle. And this obviously means that we now have our most recent low locked in place. Now, this candle itself, it did look fairly aggressive when it was printing, and then we've seen a really large wick, which has showed a lot of rejection to the upside. Suggests buyers have come in, they've tried to, push the market to the upside, but they've failed. Sells are now in control again, and we've been left with that really large wick. So again, showing us that we have clear bearish momentum. And if we play price forward one more, we're going to be able to see that price then broke our most recent low, and we can then move our most recent low to here. We can mark out our breakup structure with just a simple line like that. And we're going to be able to move our most recent high to the high of that retracement candle that we were just talking about. And when I saw this in the live market, I was very happy to look to get involved in a continuation setup, primarily because we've had that strong bearish momentum. We've had a single candle retracement, which is also an inside bar with a really large rejection wick to the upside, again showing us that sells are still in control. And we've then had a really strong break of the most recent low, really nice and impulsive, and we've closed with, a very, very small wick, but nothing that was going to put me off. So at this point, I was happy to look for our continuation setup. Not going to go into too much detail about the actual entry requirements, because if you want more information on that, you can obviously have a look at the mentorship program where you're going to have the exact trade plan. But we were looking to take a short, and we were basically looking for price to retrace and retest this inside bar candle. So we're sort of retesting the previous most recent low. And yeah, we set our order. We had a 13 pip stop loss. This is the fixed stop loss that we have on this pair with a single candle break of the most recent low. And yeah, we were simply waiting to see if price would tag us in. As you can see, the very next candle we were tagged in, we came fairly close to our stop loss. As you can see, the wick of that candle came fairly high, but we then saw some nice rejection and we did continue to the downside. And as we began to continue to the downside, we were able to start using our trailing stop loss. Now, the way we use our trailing stop loss is very, very similar to the way we just follow price action with this strategy. Now, as I mentioned, and you would have just seen, I've moved our most recent low line to this point here as we've broken our previous most recent low. And as we've done that, I would be moving our most recent high to our retracement candle, which is this inside bar. And at this point, I was moving our stop loss to 2 pips above this candle. So we were able to reduce our risk to somewhere around this level. And again, this just allows us to sort of capitalize as much as possible when the market begins to move in our direction. As you can see, 3 candles later, we've been able to reduce our risk, not by a huge amount, but fairly significant amount. And yeah, I was very happy to do that. And as you can see, we've still got very, very clear bearish momentum. So if we continue to play price forward, you can see we continue to make a strong break to the downside. That candle has broken the previous candle's most recent low. So again, we haven't had a retracement candle. Our stop loss would still be in the exact same place. And we continue to break that low again, not the clearest, but if you look at our lows up here, you can see that we literally just break that low by a few micro pips. Again, the next candle breaks that low by a few micro pips again. As you can see here, starting to lose some momentum. We're not really showing, any strong impulsive breaks of our low. We're sort of only just breaking and then rejecting. So not really looking for any scale-ins at the moment, but equally we were still at some form of risk within our initial trade. So even if we had seen some really strong impulsive moves, I wouldn't have been looking for any form of scale-in just yet. At this point, we were simply waiting for a retracement candle where price failed to break the low, and then ideally waiting for price to then break the low, where we were able to lock in some form of profit. But as you can see, we continued down even more, showed a very large wick to the downside, again showing that this bearish momentum wasn't ready to continue yet. And we then eventually got our retracement candle. As you can see, it is an inside bar candle, and we have failed to break the previous candle's low. So we do have a retracement candle. And at this point, I was just waiting to see if we could break our most recent low to lock in some profits. And as you can see, the very next candle, we do break our most recent low. So we were able to move our most recent high to our retracement candle, and we were locking in profits just above our most recent high at around 1.35%. And again, just continuing to do what we did, we see the next candle was a retracement candle, and then the candle after that, we managed to break that low. So again, we were able to lock in even more profits above our new most recent high, which was around 1.65 or 1.66%. And as you can see, we were then taken out for our profit. I believe it was at 1.6%. If it's going to let me lock that in, probably not, but you guys know what it was. Let's go down. I believe we were taken out at around 4726. Let's see what the high was there. 07, so it would have been at 27. So you go 1.66. As I say, I trail our stop loss 2 pips above our most recent high. And yeah, a few hours later, we were taken out for that 1.66%. So very nice win there. Very easy to just follow the end of that trend. As you can see here, became very, very corrective at the end. And when price is becoming corrective, we are expecting price to eventually make a reversal, which is exactly what we got here. So we were taken out at the sort of best possible moment to capitalize on this trend, and then be taken out once it's increasingly likely that we're going to see price make some form of reversal. Now, moving on to AU, this trade was sent as a VIP signal, which means it was sent to all VIP members who are in the mentorship program. And as you can probably see, it was a very, very similar setup to the setup we were just discussing on EU. As we can see, we had this really strong bearish trend forming. We had this nice impulse, fairly aggressive retrace here, which shows signs of a shift in momentum, but we can see that bullish momentum didn't continue. We had a nice strong break to the downside. And then again, I'm just going to play price back for us so we can go through the exact entry. Now, as you can see, if I just cover up our trade, you can see we've had that strong break to the downside, a bit of a wick on that final candle, but we've also got a large rejection wick to the upside, again showing us that sellers are clearly in control. The very next candle, we had a nice inside bar, again with a large rejection wick to the upside, giving us even more evidence that sellers are in control at the moment. And then we can see the very next candle, we broke that most recent low, fair bit of momentum, a little bit of a wick here, but with the prior price action, how trending we were, and this really, really weak single candle retracement, I was more than happy to place our order. And again, this was just a very simple continuation break and retest model, looking to get involved on the retest of that inside bar. Again, fixed 13 pip stop loss on this pair for this setup. And as you can see, the very next candle we were tagged in, we floated around our sort of break-even point for 2 hours, and then we began to break to the downside. This is where we were able to reduce our risk to just above our new most recent high. I'm not going to get out those horizontal rays on every single setup we go through, but hopefully you can see sort of how we were managing this trade as we continued through. And then as you can see, we saw some, fairly small candles, but this was over turnover, I believe. So, during market close where we don't usually see a lot of volume within the market. And then as we came into sort of Asian session, we can see price began to make a strong break to the downside. We saw some really clear momentum kick in. And this is when we saw our first retracement candle. As I said, for a retracement candle, we're looking for a candle that fails to break the previous candle's low. As you can see here, this bullish candle here, has a higher low than the previous candle. So at this point, we were just waiting for price to break the low, see if we could lock in some profit. That's exactly what we did. At this stage, we were locking in our profits above our most recent high, around 2.8%. And then again, we're just continuing to use that trailing stop loss to maximize our profits from this trending market. Again, we had a retracement and a break of the most recent low. So looking in our profits even more, this time around 3.7, 3.8. And as you can see, again, similar to EU, when we were breaking these lows, we really weren't showing any strong momentum at all. We've had very large wicks, very corrective breaks, forming this descending channel, which, as we know within our group, this suggests that price is ready to reverse. Doesn't always have to happen. We can always have continuations from these channels, but more often than not, we do see some form of reversal when we see these channels form in the live market. As you can see, we do manage to break that low once more. That's when we were able to lock in our profit at 4.65%, just before price decided to reverse against us. And that is when we were taken out around midnight on Wednesday the 4th. So again, really, really nice trade. And yeah, a nice amount of profit made there with 4.65%, simply just taking advantage of clear trending price action. Now moving on to EURJPY. Again, this was a VIP signal sent to all VIP members. And as you can see, it's pretty much the exact same setup as the previous two setups we were looking at on AU and EU. Just one thing I want to note here is that we had this sort of larger ascending channel forming. As you can see, we were breaking to the upside, but failing to show any real sort of significant momentum. We then had this strong break to the downside. We had a nice weak single candle retracement. Our initial break of the low was fairly corrective. As you can see, we had that large wick and actually a bullish candle, but the very next candle showed a lot of bearish momentum. We closed with literally no wick. So I was actually happy to look for a continuation setup from here. The only reason I don't have this marked out or sent as a trade signal is we literally got tagged in the first minute of this hourly candle. It was during a news event at, as you can see, 3 o'clock in the afternoon. That's GMT +1. So it was during a USD news release, and I simply just didn't have enough time to send out that signal. So that was a mistrade for the signals, but those VIP members who are following the price action strategy themselves would have definitely been able to get involved here if they were quick enough. Obviously, as I said, it was a very, very quick move during news as we tapped in and then made a strong push to the downside. And again, as you can see, we've got the exact same setup as on AU and EU. We've had this strong impulse to the downside, a moderate wick, but then we've had this really weak inside bar retracement. Again, really strong rejection wick to the upside, showing us that the sellers are still in control. And the very next candle, we've broken the most recent low with a nice amount of momentum. Again, only a very small wick. And at this point, we were happy to, again, look at that continuation setup, look for a retest of our previous most recent low, which would be that inside bar, as this is representing a range on the lower time frame. And yeah, we came fairly close to our stop loss. As you can see, price pushed up quite high, but then we had another really nice rejection wick, and we did continue to the downside. Again, strong momentum, retracement, break of the low, large wick. Again, you can see we're coming very descending in the nature that we're breaking the lows, and we were able to lock in 2.28%, as you can see, with these corrective breaks of the most recent low before we had that strong reversal. So again, some really nice profits, and following that exact same entry model where we're simply waiting for price to show, strong momentum with a clear impulse, clear impulsive breaks of the most recent low, a weak inside bar retracement with a rejection wick to the upside, which is working as even more confluence to this setup. And then we had a really strong impulsive break of the most recent low, suggesting that price was ready to continue. And we were more than happy to get involved on that continuation setup. Now, moving over to GU, this trade was also sent as a VIP signal. And again, as I'm sure you guys can see, it was literally the exact same setup that we were taking on all of the previous pairs that we've already discussed. Just a quick note, quite similar to EJ, there was an earlier setup that we did miss as a direct trade signal. Again, as you can see, we've had this strong break to the downside, a weak just single candle retracement, and then a really strong impulsive break of the most recent low. I was actually able to enter here myself, and I will just rewind price to show you how I did that. But the reason I wasn't able to send this as a direct trade signal to the VIP members was just how fast price moved during this next candle, which, as I mentioned, was during a high impact USD news release. Now, normally with my SMC strategy, I'm avoiding taking entries during news releases, especially because I'm trading on the M1. So it's very risky. But for this strategy on the 1 hour, I'm more than happy to sort of enter during these high impact news releases. I'll typically stay away from NFP, CPI, anything with the Fed, really, those really, really high impact news releases. But otherwise, as in my back testing, I'm not really aware of when these news releases are coming out. I try and stay as true to my sort of back testing as possible, as that's obviously what my strategy and trade plan is based on. And in that sense, I'm more than happy to trade during news releases. As you can see, we've had this impulse, we've had that really weak retracement, again, with a really nice rejection wick to the upside, showing us that, buyers have stepped in, but they failed to overpower, the sellers that are coming in. And again, we've had that really strong break. So there was an entry here on a retest of the most recent low. It would have been just about a pip under. I'm not going to do this exactly accurate, but just to show you whereabouts we would have been entering, we would have had about a 21 pip stop loss on this pair. And as you can see, the very next candle, we do spike up within like the first minute of this candle during the news release. I was tagged into this position, but again, as I said, I did not have enough time to send that signal out to the VIP members. So unfortunately, if those members weren't checking the charts themselves, they weren't able to get involved. But otherwise, definitely a really nice setup. And as you can see, this momentum clearly continues. We make another strong impulse to the downside. We have another weak retracement, again, with a really, really large rejection wick. And then the very next candle, we break down, so we break the most recent low again. Really strong momentum, really clean close, no wick suggesting that this sort of sell pressure is running out of momentum. And that is when we were then happy to look for our retest of the most recent low. If I can show this on the chart, there we go. And again, looking to get involved on the retest of this inside bar. As I've mentioned, this represents a range on the lower time frame, and it also works as our previous most recent low, which is a very high probability area to look for those continuations from. For this pair, we had a fixed 21 pip stop loss. And as you can see, the very next candle, we were tagged in. We did have a really nice rejection wick again. As you can see, all of these candles showing strong rejection to the upside. Price is trying to push up, but it's failing to do so. We're seeing that bearish momentum stay in control. And as we can see, we do continue to the downside. At this point, we were able to reduce our risk straight away to about half. As you can see, really, really good to be able to reduce our risk so quickly as soon as price begins to go in our favor. And then as we can see, price continues to the downside. We have a small retracement here. No, real shift in momentum there. And at that point of the break of the most recent low, we were able to lock in some profit around 1.1%. But again, you can see we're breaking that most recent low with a large wick. So at this point now, our bearish momentum or our bearish order flow is sort of running out of momentum. As you can see, we're having some rejection. We do continue to the downside. So you can see we have that little retracement candle, and then we then break the low, this time with some fairly strong momentum. As you can see, we then eventually come back and we get taken out for a profit of 1.83%. And that was the final trade of our 4 trades that we took on Tuesday. As you can see, they were literally all taken at the exact same time at 6 o'clock in the evening. That's GMT +1, so UK time. And yeah, fantastic trades. Really good start to this month, especially after the previous month was quite slow. Again, as I've mentioned at the start of this video, if you want to check out the results for all of the trade signals that have ever been sent in the Discord server, and this goes back sort of over 12 months now, you can follow the link in the description, and that's going to give you a breakdown of every single trade we've taken, also with screenshots of the sort of exact trade, where we've entered, where we've exited. And yeah, take your time to go through it. Hopefully you'll be able to take some value from it. And that pretty much sums up the video. I just wanted a quick one today to take you through some of the setups.